everyone, really easy one today. This one's for the beginners out there. I've had a few requests, so I thought I'd make this one for you. It's very simple. You just need to scrape a little bit of graphite powder. I'm using a woodless pencil there and a craft knife. And it's an HB woodless pencil. I'm just scraping the powder off just around the edge of the paper. Just a light, even, well, it's not that even, but you know, as even as you can get it, coat of graphite powder just around the edge and around the bottom, leaving a gap in the middle there. I use kitchen towel, folded over flat, and I just start very lightly in circular motions, and I mean very lightly as well, because you can leave sort of circular scratch marks in the paper with the graphite if you press too hard straight away. So go easy with this just to start with, just to, you know, spread the graphite around, and then once it's spread around you can press a little bit harder to smooth it out. I've probably got some synchronization issues going on here with the voice and the video, but please bear with me on that. I don't really know how to solve that, but hopefully it shouldn't be too bad. So once you've smoothed out the graphite, and you can more or less see, you know, sort of a background drawing ready for a landscape there, distant trees in a foreground, and then I just go in with the eraser and I pull out some sort of tree trunk shapes, and you know, a large eraser and a small eraser, and get varying sizes. It's so easy, this is. There's no complicated drawing, there's no you know, complicated line drawing or perspective or buildings or anything complicated at all. You can just sort of go with your imagination on this one and do what you like. That's why I've kind of done this one for beginners. You know, if you're a more advanced artist, you can take this another step further. You know, you can add more detail and refine it more. It's up to you. I mean, anybody can do this one. So once I've established you know, the composition where I want the trees to go, I'm sort of going back in there with a 2B graphite stick and just putting a few darker areas in and moving them about with a bit of folded tissue there, and just generally trying to get a few, you know, distant tree shapes and darker areas and sort of back areas of the woodland. I'm not actually copying anything for this drawing, it's just all made up. I more or less let the drawing guide me along. You know, the marks that the graphite powder makes, you can sort of visualise things in them. You can sort of see bushes and tree canopies and excuse me, you know, all sorts of things, and you just kind of go with it. You know, it's great for your imagination, this one. So I've kind of put some darker tree shapes in there in the back, and I've kind of pulled out a pathway there with the kneadable eraser. But I'm always prepared to sort of chop and change. You know, I might change the shape of that path or make the trees darker in the background, which I'm actually doing there. It's one of those drawings that you don't sort of work on one specific area at a time. You're sort of going from one side to another, and you know, as you see these opportunities arising, as you see these shapes forming, you kind of just jump on them as soon as you see them. Like I'm putting in sort of a distant tree there. I think I'm using a 2H pencil there, just to keep it nice and light and in the distance. But I will go back over that later with HB pencil and scumble some darker texture over the tree trunk there to kind of suggest a bit of ivy or something. I mean, the best way to draw trees really is to actually go out in nature and look at them. You know, see the angle of the branches, how they come off the trees and how far out they grow. You know, and compare them with other trees, and you'll soon get a good idea, because a lot of artists, including myself, we all kind of paint these generic trees, which could be any species. You know, and that's all well and good, but sometimes it's nice to get a bit of variation in there, and know the shape of the trees. I mean, this scene's going to be more sort of winter time where the trees are bare, and a little bit of mist in the background. At this stage I hadn't even decided what the focal point was going to be. I kind of had an idea that I might put a figure walking along the path, or maybe two figures. But that's how these drawings go. You sort of just following ideas all the time. As you can see, I'm just working on some of the background there. This is like a negative drawing style, whereas I don't actually draw the trees in the distance. What I do is I draw the darks either side of them, and the light area that's left is obviously the tree trunk. And I'm going in with a blender all the time and keeping it soft in the distance there, nice and soft and well smoothed out, nice and blended. But again, you don't have to do my technique. You can adapt this to your own style. You can add more detail and pull more highlights out with the eraser in the background to get more highlights on trees. It's up to you. That's why this one's so easy. There's no sort of hard and fast rules here. We're not following any reference photo or anything like that. But there's no reason why you couldn't have a few pictures of this at the side of you, with various woodland scenes, just to help you along, just to give you an idea. But I wouldn't sort of follow it rigidly. I'd just sort of do my own thing and just see what happens with the graphite when I've blended it in and rubbed it in. I mean, that's the fun of this kind of drawing. Sort of gives you a break from some of the more complicated drawings, which can get a little bit tedious. I often do this kind of thing when I get bored and I just want something to draw. I haven't got a clue what. I've been trawling on the internet looking for pictures and I can't find anything, so I just kind of scrape a bit of graphite, rub it around, have a look at it and see if I can make it into a landscape. It's all just fun, really. You can put as much into this as you like. I'm just kind of going into the background there and adding little dark areas and blending them out, trying to get some interesting shapes there. Because in winter time, when most of the leaves are off the trees, you can sort of see into the woodland and you kind of see these evergreen bushes and things like that. And the trees themselves, even though they're bare, around the canopies they often look sort of blurred, where it's like a mass of twigs. But obviously it'd be impossible to draw that mass of twigs, so we kind of just suggest that by just sort of smudging a little bit of graphite around the top edge of the trees and things like that. Keeping it nice and dark around the bottom area of the woodland there, because there's less light catching it there and it looks more natural. So basically all I'm using for this is a 2H pencil, an HB pencil and an HB graphite stick and a 2B graphite stick, a small pencil eraser and then a medium size eraser, and that's it. Oh, and of course a piece of kitchen towel to blend in with. Sometimes you just need to stop and assess what you've done and have a look, and start asking questions like, where should I put a focal point? Would that look better if it was darker? Does that need more contrast? Sometimes it's good to sort of have a rest from your drawing, walk away, go and have a drink or whatever, and then come back with a fresh eye. It'll give you a different sort of perspective on it, and you might think, yeah, it looks like it needs to go darker there, I need to put more highlights there. Excuse me. You'll soon get the idea. Like at this stage I can see that I'm starting to pull a few highlights out, and suggest, you know, a few little pieces of grasses and shrubbery and things in the foreground. And I've made that distant tree and the land just underneath it, you know, fairly dark in comparison to the rest of the foreground. And the same with a little bit of land on the right hand side there, just sort of coming into the picture. So I've decided that that's going to be the focal point, because that's where my eye is naturally drawn to. So I should probably put a couple of figures just walking along there, which will be a nice focal point. It won't be anything too complicated. And of course these trees are very simple. They're just silver birch trees, and really they're nothing more than, you know, sort of a white pole with a bit of texture and shading on it and a few little branches coming out. Very, very easy to do. I'm using an HB pencil to draw the branches, and I used a 2H pencil to draw the shading along the right hand side of the tree, and I blended it in with the blender, and then I used an HB pencil to go in and get the marks in the bark and the texture and everything. And if I thought it looked a little bit too sharp, I'd just sort of blend it in a little bit with the blender, smooth it back a little bit. Although these foreground trees kind of stand out a lot, really, you know, I want the eye to sort of look past them and go more into the distance, where that distance tree is and where I'll be putting in the figures. So try not to make them too you know, obvious, or make them stand out too much. You know, just give them a little blend over with the blending stump. Just putting some shadows in there now. I decided that the light was coming in from the left hand side. You see, that's the beauty when you're making these things up. You can decide what goes where, and I just thought it'd be good if those two trees there were casting a nice long shadow across the path. It had a nice bit of interest to it. And of course I've got to do the same on the other side and put a few shadows coming off those trees as well. It's the same procedure for the other side. You know, the way I draw the birch trees. You might prefer another method. It's entirely up to you. But you know, I said the way I done it with a 2H pencil and then going over with an HB pencil. Just nice and simple. I mean, this is nothing more than a sketch really. It's not really a, you know, highly polished finished drawing. It's just me having fun really. And I thought this would want to be good for beginners, because you've got lots of scope to make mistakes. You know, it doesn't matter if the trees are slightly bent or leaning the wrong way. I mean, that happens in nature. So it's the same with the lie of the land. It doesn't matter if you make it bumpy or smooth or full of grass or, you know, whatever. It really doesn't matter. And that's, you know, that's a good place for beginners to start really, just to get used to the graphite and to get used to, you know, pulling highlights out and everything. There's the finished drawing. You can see I've added two little figures there and a little fence just coming off the distant tree, just pointing to them. It has a nice focal point. So there you go. Have a go at that one. It's nice and easy. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.